What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin and DK in the background. We are excited to talk about the Baltimore Ravens and their coaching staff. So mainly we're going to talk about the Trinity, John Harbaugh, Wink Martindale, and Greg Roman. We know that there are ancillary figures in this equation and potentially conversation when it comes to coaching staff, but those are the three that we will be speaking of today. And we're really excited to get into it because there are we've noticed a lot of differing opinions, especially after yesterday's game in regards to the coaching staff and the decision-making. A lot of people on each end of the spectrum. So we're going to get right into what our thoughts are on this coaching staff. But before we do, take a second right now, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. We'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, throughout the video or at the end, leave your comments below as we discuss this topic of conversation. But Glenn, we have been talking about this off air for a decent amount of time now. So let's get into it. This is where we'll start. I think the reason that we're bringing this up is really because of the eternal there's a few eternal conversations. One, around John Harbaugh and not seeming to be I'm saying this in air quotes here for those of you who are watching, just listening, a decision maker, a play caller, or, he's just a figurehead, like whatever term you want to put in there. That's an eternal debate. Greg Roman and his questionable play calling, that's an eternal debate. And then yesterday, the one that really fired it up, of course, was Wink's decision to go for it on 4th and 11, or excuse me, not go for it, but to zero blitz, right, on 4th and 11, and John backing him up today in his presser.
Yeah.
So all those things being said, Glenn, where you want to start with? I think we should start with Wink, unless you see the contrary.
No, we can start there, but I just kind of want to phrase it a little bit. The question is, did the Ravens coaching staff prove that they need more credit for this season as a whole? Not just yesterday, but for this season. Because constantly we come on here and we talk about Lamar Jackson and the fact that he covers a lot of weaknesses on this team. He's the ultimate Band-Aid. He can cover up a lot of issues you have, and we say that this team usually goes as far as he goes. If he plays well, the Ravens typically do so as well. And if he plays poorly, then there's a chance they're going to lose the game. Well, yesterday they didn't have Lamar Jackson, along with a whole bunch of other contributors and starters, and yet they were still able to beat a team. And people can say what they want about the Bears, but let me just say what the Bears have done this year. Because, they're not one of the best teams in the league. They only have 3 wins. But 3 of those wins, those 3 wins came against the Cincinnati Bengals. How did the Bengals when the Ravens played them, Jimbo?
Yeah, it didn't go too well.
Got destroyed, right? Their other 2 wins was Detroit. How'd that Ravens game go against Detroit?
That was a tough one.
Down to the wire, right?
Yeah, took a 66-yarder.
Yeah, well, they handled the Detroit. They beat the Detroit by 10. And then their final win came against the Raiders. How'd it go when the Ravens played the Raiders, Jimbo?
Yeah, we lost twice.
So you can say what you want about the Bears, but the Bears have beaten 2 teams that the Ravens lost to, and they handled one team that the Ravens beat on a NFL record 66-yard field goal that hit off the cross post. So let me just say that as far, when people say, well, they're a terrible team. Okay, well, they've done something twice this year the Ravens haven't done, and that's beating the Bengals and the Raiders. So with that being said, the Ravens came into that game without their stud left tackle, with their presumed right tackle filling in at left, without their number 1 receiver, without a whole bunch of contributors and starters on defense, including Marcus Peters, Jimmy Smith, Anthony Averett. You can really go around Joker, Deshaun Elliott. You go around the list, Brandon Williams. It's a bunch of guys, and yet they're still able to beat a Bears team coming off of a bye week, who were desperate, needed a win to keep their hopes alive for making something out of this season. And they did so on the road in Chicago. So, yeah, you can criticize moments where you don't maybe agree with the play call. You maybe disagree with the strategy and all that. That's fine. But at some point, we have to start really giving a bunch of credit to this coaching staff. I mean, if you want to talk about Wink and that zero blitz, okay. I understand maybe don't blitz everyone. I understand blitzing someone because I don't think a 4-man pass rush was the right move there on 4th and 11 when we haven't shown we can get pressure with just 4.
Yeah.
And so maybe find a middle ground between the 4-man pass rush and the zero blitz. Okay. But this guy still went into Chicago and held the Bears to 13 points with a patchwork group. I mean, a group that is decimated by injury, absolutely decimated by injury. I mean, so I think he deserves a lot of credit. I mean, you can criticize, but look, that was part of the game plan. They stuck with their game plan going in. Maybe they should have altered a little bit when Andy came in, being a vet, being the fact that he will be the more likely of the two between him and Fields to make those calls at the line of scrimmage, checking in and out of plays, and maybe could, if you don't hide it well, expose a zero blitz like he did on that final touchdown. But I mean, Jimbo, I think we do have to start giving these guys a lot more credit. I mean, Wink included.
So it sounds like we already know where you stand.
Yeah, and I got more to talk about if you want to talk about John and Roman.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the 3, this is the people that I will defend in order of the ones I'm most defensive about and least defensive about. While I will defend all 3 of them, John Harbaugh, I am the most defensive of. I think John Harbaugh is a generational coach. I think that John Harbaugh is going to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think that John Harbaugh has proven time and time again that he can take a group of men and get them to work as a unit, have one mind and one goal, and find success. Like, that's job number 1 as a coach. He is a true leader. Like, guys, leadership has nothing to do with calling plays. Leadership has everything to do with trust, advocacy, like accountability. I mean, all these things, motivation, nothing to do with calling X's and O's. So that's one thing that I always point out to people. Also, you said this before, Glenn, even though John doesn't call plays, you won't find a coach in the NFL that's had football and is more ingrained in his blood and his DNA than John Harbaugh. You won't. Like, you'll be super hard pressed to find one. I mean, it's just that simple. So saying he doesn't know football, doesn't know offensive schemes, doesn't know defensive schemes, it's just ludicrous. I mean, it's just absolutely what does Ryan Clark say? Ass a 10. It's not ass a 9, it's ass a 10. Like, I mean, it just is, right? So as far as Greg Roman goes, and I might get buried in the comments section for this one. I know that Roman puts up some stinkers as far as singular plays or maybe a drive. But once again, you will be hard-pressed to find a coach that when he's dialed in and he puts together a drive, I don't know if there's too many people that can do it better. And the way that he's been consistent with a myriad of teams that he's played with, every single one of his teams he's had offensively, they've been really, really good. He made Tyrod Taylor lots of money. He made Colin Kaepernick lots of money, and he's going to make Lamar, not that Lamar Jackson isn't, obviously he's the one out there playing, but he's going to make Lamar Jackson a ton of money. I think that Greg Roman is the best play caller when it comes to establishing a running game. And I know that it's hard to say that right now based on the circumstances, but at the end of the day, the running game was there yesterday, and based on who we have and a banged up line, like the banged up line to me is the problem. I like Greg Roman, and I'll ride with Greg. I think he's, there's OC. He's been there. He's been to the championship games. He's been to the Super Bowl. He continually, if you look at his actual career, like outside of the NFL, he's always learned, absorbed, and gotten better. And it seems like to me, he has a commitment to continue to get better. So I'll trust in that moving forward. And then you mentioned a lot about Wink. Sometimes I get frustrated with Wink, Glenn. I'll be honest, because sometimes I feel like he's kind of rigid. Like last year was really frustrating to watch him play against the Chiefs and Andy Reid just eat his lunch, literally fried up the burger in front of him and ate his lunch, like Andy style, right? But, and Wink didn't seem to change very much, but I will credit Wink this year. And you saw it in this Bears game where he's taken a lot from John too, taking a lot of John's cues. And so while it might not be something we see on film right away, I think that there are nuances to his defense that mean that he's humble enough to listen to others that are around him. So I like Wink. The players love him. and they love playing for him. So that's how I feel about the three of them. And I think that being at 7-3, all you can do is give them credit.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's hard to imagine, what any other coaching staff would do with this kind of bad luck when it comes to injuries, and not just the total, but the amount of quality players gone. Just looking at just yesterday, it was insane. The fact that they were able to win that game is incredible. The fact that they have 7 wins this season, they're leading their division. They got every goal in front of them still. They still are very much in range to get the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. I think they're just as good a shot as any other team. You can make an argument for a few, but you could certainly make just as strong an argument for the Ravens. And to do that with all those guys gone, I mean, it's insane. Most teams at this point would have realized their season is over. If they had all those injuries, season's over. They're positioning for a top 3 pick. That's what a normal, when you have all these injuries, especially when you look at yesterday. I mean, yesterday was insane. I mean, it was so many guys, Jimbo, so many guys. I don't care who you're playing. The fact that they won that game, it just stuns me. It absolutely stuns me. And look, you can obviously the credit, the players get a ton of credit. But the fact that these coaches were able to even keep these guys focused enough to have them believing that they still had a shot, they still had a great opportunity to play a team coming off a bye who was so desperate, giving you believe me, them coaches, they threw everything they had at the Ravens. They gave them their best scheme, the plays they've been saving, all that stuff came out, and they still came up short against the Ravens. I mean, I just don't understand how you could be critical of this coaching staff under the circumstances they've been under. And my only question is, like, if you are critical, who would you rather have? Like, tell me a coaching staff that would have done better with this group.
And an attainable, like, don't tell me.
Tell me anyone.
Well, I'm just saying.
But I see your point. Like, they're not going to get Pride Bill out of New England. But
yeah, it's like, don't sit here and tell me that we're going to take Bill McVay and Wade Phillips and put them together and make a coaching staff. It's not happening.
Right.
Like,
no, it's not happening. But even, you look around the league, you going to tell me Andy Reid? Look at that offense.
They've kind of rebounded, but.
Yeah, look, did they? They won 19-9 yesterday, but look at their offense. True. Look at what Pat Mahomes actually did. Looked like the same old Pat Mahomes all year this year. Not really an impressive performance. So all I'm saying is, look around the league, and you'll find stinkers up and down the board for every coaching staff, despite the fact that they're far more healthy than the Ravens now.
Yeah, how many stars does Bruce Arians need?
Exactly. He's got so many on both sides of the ball.
It's laughable.
Yes.
It's absolutely laughable.
And they just put up a stinker against Washington.
And half the Ravens fans didn't even know, like I said yesterday, who was playing on the other side of Marlon Humphrey before he got beat on the double move. They just thought it was Anthony Averett. Right. Yeah, exactly. He's a no-name, right? Like, it was literally his first start.
Yeah, and he played 100% of the snaps.
Look, let me say this, Glenn, to back up the coaching staff. This is a sign of a good coaching staff. Look, we saw today, when you continuously see teams plucking players from our practice squad, sign of a good and trusted coaching staff. If you see teams trading for our draft picks, it's a sign of a good coaching staff. If people consistently say the Ravens are the deepest, most resilient, most well-balanced, most disciplined team, all those things come down to coaching, being disciplined, being well-balanced, being deep, right? Like, being resilient. All those tones and those cultural aspects of the team squarely lie with the coaching staff.
Yep.
Period. Right? Like, Ray Lewis wasn't going to draft and develop new guys. Shoot, guys, like, at the tail end of Ray's career, he wasn't showing up for all the voluntary stuff. Like, let's be honest. Ray was doing his thing, getting his shape, showing up, smacking some guys in the mouth when he had to come to camp, right? Like, so my point is that players are incredible, and obviously the game is all about the players. But when you talk about those things in and of themselves, it comes down to the coaching. Absolutely comes down to the coaching. And John produces, there's no other way for me to really say this, one of the most consistent products as far as what his football team is going to be. John Harbaugh's football team is going to be tough. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to be deep. They're going to be well-rounded. They're going to be good special teams. Like, that about John Harbaugh, no matter who he puts on the field.
Yep.
And that to me is just a sign of coaching. The other thing, Glenn, I mean, you talk about this all the time. Let me ask you a semi-rhetorical question, which you can answer, but who has more playoff wins on the road than John Harbaugh?
0.
0 coaches.
Yep.
Not a one.
Yeah.
What else do you say?
Yeah, exactly. And in counting, right? Because I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
And I expect the Ravens to be in the playoffs this year and next year and every year after that.
Let me ask you one more question, Glenn.
Yeah.
How fast would John Harbaugh be snatched up if the Ravens ever fired him?
I think if they fired him, before he even left Steve Bisciotti's office after receiving the news, a carrier pigeon would fly into the castle and drop a note right into his hands as he's leaving Bisciotti's office with 38 offers.
It would be a full-on owl. We're going Harry Potter. Just a ton of owls flooding his office with letters.
Yes. And it wouldn't just be, not only would it be probably 28 of the coaching set, availability would be in NFL, but he'd have a whole bunch in college. He'd have so many options. He could pretty much decide what part of the country he wants to live in.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And then look, I think a lot can be said about the other two. What do you think about, so say Wink goes, how fast, I mean, you think Wink's going to sit on the street? No.
Heck no. You look at what the Ravens have done since he's been the defensive coordinator. They're first in points. They're first in yards. Do I need to go any further than being first in those since he's taken over? I mean, that's enough.
And let me ask you that. You don't think that whoever comes in to coach the Chicago Bears next year, say Roman's on the market, they're not like, let me go get somebody else other than Greg Roman for a dual their quarterback. No, they're going to say, hey, Greggy, get over here because I've seen what you've done with these guys that are similar to a Justin Fields in their play style, right? I mean,
and look, guys, I know you're frustrated. Like people are going to go, oh, these guys are crazy. I know you're frustrated, and you would. Here's what I'll say to those who get frustrated watching them: you would be just as frustrated, if not more, if you were a fan of another team and watched that team as closely as you watch the Ravens. The reason we're so critical of the Ravens is because we watch every play. We analyze every snap. Whereas when we see the Arizona Cardinals, for example, we usually only see their highlight reel on ESPN. So we go, damn, why can't our team scheme a guy wide open for a touchdown? Well, that's because all you saw was the golden plays. You didn't see the stinkers that happened throughout because you don't watch every snap with your heart on the line like you do for our Ravens. Trust me, if you were a fan of any other team, you would have these same, if not more, criticisms for that coaching staff and those players. So, let's not act like, we're not saying that, the Ravens are perfect. We understand that there's moments where we're just as frustrated as you guys are, and they make mistakes coaching just as they do when they're playing. I mean, just Westry made a big one yesterday. So all I'm saying is if you followed every team as closely as the Ravens, then you would find criticisms throughout every single team in the league. No team is perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to keep talking about this, but we're going to take a quick break, guys, because we want to introduce something that you guys have probably seen on the show before. Move for Life is a really cool organization that we contribute to monetarily. And this is a sheer contribute is the wrong word, donate to, because we believe in their cause. So the one of the directors came on, we did a quick interview with him. So we have a 5-minute interview with him to learn about Move for Life and about how you can contribute, the competitions they have going on that Glenn's brother and I one day in the future will do. He's committed to doing it with me. So we will be doing it. Glenn's brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. TJ, Glenn's brother.
Gotcha.
So if you don't want to watch it, you're not interested in learning about Move for Life, skip ahead 5 minutes. No problem. We'll be back talking about the coaches. But if you want to learn about a cool cause, way you can donate, way you can get into a CrossFit style type competition, check it out. Give it about 5 minutes, and then come back with us. Hey guys, we're here with a good friend of mine, Dante London, who's representing an awesome cause that we've talked about before on the show, Move for Life, the executive director over there. It's a great nonprofit organization. Dante, what does Move for Life do, and what is your guys' mission?
Yeah, so Move for Life is a nonprofit organization that was formed in 2019. We became incorporated in 2020, and most of this was because of the pandemic. But we were formed to really take what I would call community-based organizations that can help people that are in the low-income brackets acquire fitness scholarships to local gyms. And in doing so, we really try to give back to the community. So these gyms are your local community-based gyms. They might be owned by a couple. They might be affiliated with the likes of organizations like CrossFit, etc. Our mission is simply to transform the lives of disadvantaged people by providing those functional gym memberships. And then in 2022, the fall of 2022, we'll start to offer scholarships for people that are going to community college.
Man, that is awesome. How can folks, get involved in this? I know you guys got something coming up, but how can folks participate in what you guys got going on?
Sure. So the way we raise money is really primarily two different ways. One, people can just simply go to our website, moveforlife.org, go to the donate page and provide a donation of any denomination. The second is we actually host fitness competitions. And so we have an upcoming competition on December 11th. It'll be our third that we've held, and we invite local amateur fitness athletes to come to a local facility and compete against each other. And then we take all the profits and we put it in the fund repository to utilize for the community.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So what was kind of the genesis or the basic? Why did you decide to get this organization going, and why is it so important to you?
Sure. So I've been a CrossFit coach since 2014. I've been doing CrossFit since 2009. And I've just seen how that type of exercise protocol and community setting has benefited myself and benefited many people, countless people I've met. One of the challenges is it's not cheap. And so it's not the $10 or $25 Globo Gym type of facility. So the people that are in the lower income brackets, they love it. They love the concept, but they simply can't afford it. And so I wanted to provide an opportunity for those people to actually participate. And what we have learned is when it comes to people taking on an exercise program, attending a gym frequently and consistently, the biggest thing that inhibits them from doing that is actually money. It's not their will, it's not their desire, it's not their transportation. They just simply don't have the money.
No, I think it's awesome, and I think that Glenn would agree with me as well. We think it's an awesome cause. In fact, we've donated to Move for Life, and we'll certainly continue to do so as you guys continue to pump out some awesome competitions. You said they have a competition coming up. I know that Glenn's brother and I, TJ, will be competing in a competition here in the future in one of your upcoming competitions in the most novice heat or class that is available to us. But we will be there to compete, and we're looking forward to it. Dante, think it's a great cause. Really excited. Make sure all of you guys that are watching the show go out there, use the URL that you see at the bottom of the screen to check out the competitions, or if you're into fitness competitions, at the very least, provide a donation. We did that and we'll continue to do so. So make sure you guys do so and continue to help Dante and his team provide these opportunities to people. Thank you for coming on, Dante, and have a great one.
Thank you guys for having me.
So, Glenn, let's keep talking about the coaching staff here. Mm-hmm. I want to round out this conversation because I feel like some of the knocks that John Harbaugh gets are the same that Mike Tomlin gets. In that, he's not a play caller. There are moments that are pivotal in the game, and you see John Harbaugh silent and pensive, and you see the same thing happen with Tomlin, right? Mm-hmm. They're not in the microphone. They're not super expressive. There are plenty of times where they both are, right? But to me, the number one, I said it before, to me, the number one trait that I look for in a coach, and Windy City Breeze said it, leader of men.
Yep.
What are there any valid criticisms to a John Harbaugh, or are we because people are going to call us homers, right? Are there any valid criticisms that you can point to and say, okay, I see your criticism. You know what I mean? What do you see as valid, right? Not unreasonable.
Yeah, sure. I think their challenge record needs to be called into question. I think they, too often John will challenge a play where I go, "What are you challenging?
Do you
What are
think
you
he's putting too much
seeing?"
stock in his players at that moment and saying, "I made the catch" or whatever, and not like the booth? You know what I'm saying? Because a player will always say he made the play.
Right? Yeah. I think it's honestly it's. I don't think it's the player that I think whoever's in the booth, we need to reevaluate because he's obviously trusting what he's getting, what he's being told in the headset.
Yeah.
But far too often I see him miss an opportunity where I was like, man, I wish we would have had taken a look at that. And then there's other times where they kind of blow a challenge on a play that looked obvious to me. So I have not been thrilled with John's challenge record. And also there's been times where the use of timeouts is interesting. This time, this past Sunday, I thought they did everything properly, but there was a few games ago where they tried to draw a team off sides when it was 4th and under 5 yards to go, and when they didn't, even though they were at around the 50-yard line, they took a timeout rather than allowing the play clock to just expire. Which a 5-yard delay of game penalty when you're punting from midfield actually helps you because it gives you a little bit more room and avoids it lessens the possibility of a touchback. So there's been some questionable timeout usage and challenge usage that bugged me a little bit. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, it's hard for me to really point to any issues I have with him. I could point to individual issues I have with the coaching staff. I think there's play calls on the coordinator's end that bother me occasionally.
I was going to ask about that. Because everyone gets on Giro and his play calling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to defend him once again, but I see the qualms and I get it because I've said it before. Check out our Twitter. There are moments where I am on fire. Even yesterday, I tweeted after we were ahead, we came back from the 4th and 11 debacle and then had an opportunity to seal the game. I said, no cover 0 wink. Like, don't, dude, please. But offensively, this is the one thing I'll say in defense of Greg Roman. Think about all offseason. Greg is in his office. I just imagine being in this like lab with all these computers and TVs up in front of him. He's just scheming. And he's got it's also a weight room, right? Because he's
not missing
a weight
bench
lift.
day.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, so, and he's out there. He's drawing up plays all offseason. Mm-hmm. And he's salivating, right? Thinking about JK and Gus and Lamar and Hollywood and all these guys. And then thinking about this offensive line, right? With Ronnie and Villanueva and Cleveland coming in and Bradley and Zeitler and all these things. And he's thinking all these ways he can move around these big guys in front, do stuff with them that's interesting and unique. And then all of a sudden, you might as well just rip all those things up and throw them in the fire because of injury. I mean, I understand that so many teams go through that. But my point is this: when that happened, look what Lamar has done this year. It's not just on Lamar. And it's not just on Keith Williams and T. Martin either. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, Greg Roman's in the headset calling the plays. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think that he deserves credit for that. Lamar Jackson has progressed as a football player. Our offense has progressed. And I think that, once our run game comes back based on health in the offensive line, it's going to be an absolute juggernaut. So I don't know. I just feel like it's really important to contextualize things when we give these guys criticism, because I was yesterday as well. I was getting in my feelings, but I honestly can't say that I would prefer to have another combination of coaches that's actually available for us to have.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I mean, Jimmy, let me just ask you a couple simple questions, very easy ones. If you had to grade the offensive line's performance this year, would you say it's been good or less than good?
Super up and down, less than good.
Okay, less than good.
Like,
and how about
more bad than good?
Right. And how about the running backs?
Bad, washed.
Yeah, the Ravens are 3rd in the league in rushing. So I mean, I get that a lot of that's Lamar, but you're talking about who's most responsible for a run game? Is your offensive line and your running back? And
okay, I see what you're saying, right?
And they're bad. Both those units are bad and have been bad all season. So if you're 3rd in the league, and then defensively, the number one goal, and you ask Wink, any head coach, the number one goal has been and will always remain: stop the run first, and then you move on. Right now, in the league, the Ravens are number 2 against the league in rushing. So I mean,
trivia. You ready for this?
All right,
DK, I'm gonna allow you to put up your answer, but both of you have like 5 seconds. So
Okay.
DK, get on the keys. Who leads the Ravens in tackles for loss?
Patrick Queen.
Ah, you son of a gun!
I got it.
Sorry,
Yes.
DK, you didn't have a chance.
Well, he's been showing out. He's really
I
showed
was
out.
shocked when I saw that. I was like, really?
Yeah, well, look, he should. He's the middle linebacker. I bet if we click on Chicago, I bet Roquan has that by a landslide. I mean, if I had to guess.
That's true.
But yeah, so you got to love what you've seen. Obviously, John Harbaugh, the leading the whole way, impressive. I mean, just ask Lamar Jackson what he thinks about John Harbaugh, and you know, he did. In fact, the Ravens media did ask Lamar Jackson what they thought of, or what he thought of him, and he said he's a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
Every player should want to play for John Harbaugh, and I agree with him. So let us know what you guys think. Are we some homers? Are we missing something? Are we crazy? Because from what I'm seeing, and I can't understand how you can criticize this group, but if you do, please provide some context to why you criticize. And if you have some time, I'd like you to tell me who would be a better replacement at any one of those three spots. And yeah, just give us a name or give us at least some sort of a reason why you're critical of these guys. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
See you.